China, home to 1 in 5 of the planet's population. The superpower the world fears, but few really know.
Ken Hom is the godfather of Chinese food.
Heaven on earth.
He introduced the wok to the West more than 30 years ago.
This is the way you should be cooking it. Ching He Huang is leading the next generation of Chinese cooks.
We're just going to chop off the head.
With a modern, inventive approach to the cuisine.
It's like ducks playing in springtime.
Lovely.
We're taking a once-in-a-lifetime adventure across China through food.
Rabbit head.
Shall we try?
To delve into its heart and soul.
Like it. Pull it. Food is the best way to explore Chinese culture because we really live to eat.
It's an epic trip. 3,000 miles from the megacities of the East to the forgotten villages of the Wild West.
It's like we've been back to the time of Genghis Khan.
She's just decapitated it. We'll uncover the familiar, the secret, and the surprising.
Wow, I've never seen that done before.
Cook simple and delicious dishes.
That is my Sichuan sausage.
And reveal the secrets of China, old and new.
It's like a journey that I've always dreamt about, but in a China I dreamt about.
We're on the final leg of our journey across China and have arrived in the Cantonese province of Guangdong, my parents' birthplace and my spiritual home.
I was last here in 1989 in the summer, and for me it's exciting to be here because I can understand whatever I'm saying.
I can't wait. I really can't wait. It's first time in Guangzhou. Couldn't have a better translator.
We're spending 4 days in the capital, Guangzhou, before going our separate ways to our family and ancestral homes. This is the climax of our entire journey.
I'm crossing the South China Sea to Taiwan, where my food journey began at my grandmother's knee.
While here in Guangdong, I'm reuniting with family I haven't seen for 23 years.
You know, we Cantonese are often called the Sicilians of China because we're loud, boisterous. Our food is like the greatest, we think.
My parents left Guangdong for America in 1948 in search of a better life. Historically, most overseas Chinese come from here, and today there are over 30 million in more than 100 countries. They took their style of cooking with them and adapted it for Western tastes. Today, this is what the West thinks of as Chinese food, but there's so much more to Cantonese cuisine.
I know you would appreciate very much some of the things we have to offer here. Dim sum,
Yeah.
I mean really good dim sum.
I can't wait to try dim sum with you
Right.
here actually and see, how different it is.
And, great seafood here. We're famous for, we eat everything.
Guangzhou is home to South China's largest fish market.
Everything's in tanks, everything's alive.
Fresh, live. I mean, we're obsessed with that.
The variety here is incredible.
Wangsha Market is open 24/7 and sells 600 tons of seafood every day.
Wow, oh my gosh, that's giant prawns.
That's a spiny lobster.
That's beautiful. Look at all the coloring.
Yes. The food is so familiar to me versus other places I've been to in China. And coming here to Canton, yeah, this is where my culinary soul is.
Oh my god. Alligators. Baby crocodiles.
喂，邊個？
Oh my
呢好食嘛
gosh.
你托起身啫，你托做乜嚟嘅？
Is it good? 你喺邊度嚟㗎？泰國啊。泰國？哦，泰國。They're from Thailand.
From Thailand?
I've eaten it.
No, I've never.
Alligator.
I've never
I had
cooked
it in
or,
America.
or eaten it.
It
Alligator
tastes like chicken.
steaks.
Yeah, it
steaks.
tastes like chicken. Wow. Wow.
Wow.
犀利。
Has he ever been bitten?
你咬過嘛？係啊，
Yeah,
綁好。
he's been bitten.
哦，哇，真係好大膽啊！
Oh my
see?
gosh, no, that's
Turtles.
turtles. Surely this is not for
Yes,
eating.
of course, it's for the pot. They're not here for pets.
I actually think it's quite
Very
cruel.
Cantonese. We don't have the same concept about things as pets. I think that's changing now.
It's
in
changing.
China.
I mean, shark fin, for example, is being banned throughout China, and I hope turtle soup will also be on that same, agenda, because I think it's cruel. There's some things you just don't need to eat.
Well, we have to look at things historically.
Yeah.
I mean, where people didn't have enough to eat, there was a lot of famine, so it's hard to judge when you don't have anything to eat.
I know, but
Yeah.
times have changed,
Sure,
things
of
move
course.
on. So, like China, and like modernization, I think food needs to modernize as well.
Chinese tradition claims that stewed turtle cures cancer and alligator meat relieves asthma. Like many of the creatures here, they're an endangered species. And though the Chinese government is taking steps to monitor their trade, consumer culture won't change overnight. Even a major British supermarket chain with stores in China sells and slaughters live turtles.
We're at the market to shop for more conventional fare, like these super fresh razor clams.
See, you don't know whether they're alive or not because they're open. The meat is just oozing out of the shell. Normally, with mussels or scallops, the shell's got to be firmly tight. So the way you can tell it's fresh is if you kind of touch them and if they squirt water out. There, see?
These are good. These are good.
These will be good eating, right? Right. Well, these should be really sweet and delicious. So I think that's enough.
The Cantonese like everything straight from the sea. I've got my eye on some fresh scallop.
They're beautiful. We Cantonese believe in never gilding the lily. In other words, when your ingredient is so fresh, what you want to do is highlight it. The Cantonese prize their palate as one of the finest in China simply because all our food is unadorned simply because it's so fresh. Freshness to us is like the El Dorado.
At this local Guangzhou restaurant, diners come straight from the market with their live purchases. Today, we're taking over the kitchen to cook our fresh shellfish.
I'm cooking steamed Cantonese scallops with chili, spring onion, and garlic. It's a quick and easy dish, but the skill is in the preparation of the scallops. To open them, hold the round side down and run a flat blade along the inside.
So you have to really pry them open. That's how you know they're fresh.
Separate the shell and wash to remove the dark membrane, leaving only the scallop and the roe. They're now ready for the pot.
Yeah, steaming is the best way to actually cook this kind of food because it's the freshest and the best. I'm just preparing the chilies. These are mild chilies. Cantonese do not like really strong chilies like in Sichuan. They don't want the freshness of the seafood to be crushed by strong seasoning. And just a lot of spring onions and that's it. Perfect. Just a few minutes.
Next, pour hot oil on the spring onions and chilies. Then add a good splash of soy sauce to bring out the flavors.
It's very Cantonese because it's steamed and minimum amount of seasoning.
Yeah. Great. Good. Can I try one? I love the way that you put coriander in there. I just love it. I love the flavor of coriander.
So sweet.
It's delicious.
Out of this world.
I'm making a quick stir fry with razor clams using traditional ingredients of chopped spring onion, chili, and some garlic fried in oil.
It's very rare they see a woman in the kitchen like this. Because
Really?
usually women never do
Oh my
walk.
gosh!
Women don't do walk.
As in all Cantonese cooking, the main ingredient is plunged into hot water to remove the impurities. Remove the clams and reintroduce the seasonings to the hot wok. Add the shells with some rice wine and a good pinch of salt. They're ready in just a couple of minutes.
A little bit of soy sauce. That's it. That's easy. Shall we try?
Yes. Perfectly cooked.
Good? Is that good?
Yeah. Unbelievable. And you did it perfectly Cantonese, which meant the seasonings were not overwhelming. Everything really matches the freshness.
Thank you, Ken.
There's one Cantonese food that we're all familiar with in the West, dim sum. I'm taking Ching to the locals' favorite restaurant in the city that gave birth to this worldwide delicacy. Eating it here is more of a ritual than a dining experience.
I want to bring you to the best dim sum in Guangzhou.
Can't wait. Well, this is your town.
Built in 1935, Guangzhou Restaurant is on 3 floors, serves up to 10,000 people every day, and employs chefs who train for decades.
Isn't this
Nandito.
beautiful? Look at this.
Yeah.
Wow.
I sit right
Thank
next to
you.
you. This is very nice.
这么大。
Hello，你好。我哋點啲點心有乜點心？What kind of things do you like?
Some restaurants offer customers pre-prepared dishes, but here, everything is cooked fresh to order.
There are hundreds of varieties of dim sum here, from steamed dumplings to chicken feet, and one of my favorites, lotus leaves stuffed with sticky rice.
Shall we split one first?
Yeah, let's have this one.
Okay, I love this. Let's share. That's beautiful. See, and what I love is to see all the beautiful inside. Look at mushroom,
Yeah.
pork,
Belly pork.
belly pork,
And this should some
and this
shrimp.
that looks like a little bit of chicken.
It's salted
Salted
gake.
gake.
Look at how much
Yeah.
skill is gone into it. And just because it's cheap doesn't mean that it shouldn't be up there as one of
Right.
the best cuisines in the world.
And it's perfection.
It's perfection.
The tradition of eating dim sum started centuries ago in small tea houses along the Silk Road. Yam cha, which means drink tea, is a ritual that goes hand in hand with dim sum. It's the Cantonese equivalent of having a biscuit with your cuppa.
Here, where tea is considered the elixir of life, granting the drinker eternal youth, this part of the tradition is taken very seriously.
Now she's going to make the tea for us. And see, it's the ritual. She had rinsed it before.
There's also a Cantonese etiquette when taking tea.
No, it's always the duty of the younger one to pour tea for the elder.
You know, we always say thank you, especially in Cantonese like that.
Tapping the table is the polite way to say thank you for having your teacup filled. Bending the fingers symbolizes kowtowing or bowing as a sign of respect.
Why is that?
Well, the legend comes from the time of Qianlong, which is one of the greatest emperor in the last dynasty. And he had gone out with his retainers to tour the country in incognito.
In disguise?
Exactly. And when he poured tea or gave some food to some of his retainers, they couldn't bow without revealing his identity. So they did this. That's the legend. So you see people doing that all the time.
Yes, all the time.
When I was bad, when I was a child.
I can't
I was
imagine
bad.
you being a naughty child. You're
What
so zen.
I had to do was I had to offer tea. I had to kowtow to my mother on my knees, and offer a cup of tea in front of all the Chinese neighbors. And when she accepted it, that meant she accepted my apology.
This restaurant is very popular with locals.
Hello, 你好，我姓譚。你貴姓啊？你姓廖啊？我姓廖。
Friends Lu Liang and Lao Chaoguang are its most loyal regulars.
你長期喺呢度食，你嚟呢度食50年啦，50年，
我有咩會年啦？
你知道呢度乜都食過晒啦，係咪？啲點上 eat through the menu. I said 50 years I can eat through the menu.
She knows the menu of my heart.
屋企煮餐啊，係嘛？係啊，It's of course it's better than cooking at home.
I don't want to deprive the restaurant of its best customers, but after 52 years cooking for celebrities, presidents, and royalty, I'm certain I can persuade them to try some authentic home cooking. While Ching takes a break, I've offered to prepare a meal for them at Mrs. Lau's house.
And I thought, okay, that's a good opportunity for me to actually make sweet and sour as we Cantonese make it, which is the real thing.
I've come to the old Bao Hao Road to buy ingredients for my sweet and sour pork. Guangzhou is in China's wealthiest province. Thanks to manufacturing, people here are among the country's highest earners. They demand quality and variety in their food. And in this market, you can buy almost anything.
Live frogs. You know what we call live frogs? Chicken of the fields. You know, there's a famous saying that we Cantonese eat everything on four legs except the table, anything that flies except an airplane. Oh, this would be nice to put in sweet and sour. It's very unusual. Mangosteen.
Mangosteens are a South Asian fruit with a sweet, tangy flesh, which makes them ideal for this dish.
I got mangosteen and some pear apple.
I learned how to cook sweet and sour pork from my Uncle Paul, who had a restaurant in Chicago's Chinatown. He taught me which cuts of meat to look for.
最南係邊隻？最南係邊隻？係呢個南啊？呢個南啊？I'm using the most tender part of the pork, not the belly that needs more cooking, but a piece that I can stir fry very quickly and then toss in a sweet and sour sauce.
Mrs. Lau is retired and lives in the commercial district of Guangzhou. It looks like word of my visit has spread. Mrs. Lau has invited the entire neighborhood.
That's a Chinese Buddha. Chinese Buddhas are always fat.
Mrs. Lau could not have displayed religious icons during the Cultural Revolution, but since 1978, the Chinese Constitution has guaranteed freedom of worship.
This is quite lovely. I have the same thing in my home here in Thailand.
It's 23 years since I was last in Guangzhou. So before I cook dinner, I'm keen to hear how life has changed for its residents.
最低嘅保障啊嘛，咁啊生活又穩定，大家咧個個都安居樂業係咪啊？咁就算係咁噶啦。
所以我哋覺得個幸福指數算高，
好幸福噶啦！我哋依家咁樣樣就。
It's beautiful. They said that we're so happy because we have stability and peace. We can eat things. We can do what we want, and for people who are retired now, we don't have to worry about instability in society. We can go out and walk, whatever. We are not afraid to be mugged. Food is abundant. She says, great. We've never had it so good. She said that the level of happiness is incredibly high. Before, even if you have money, there's nothing to buy. You have to queue up to buy nothing. She said you couldn't buy anything. And she said we have such peace and we can buy anything we want, we could eat. He said now we worry about getting fat. We're not worried about not having enough to eat but getting fat. You couldn't buy anything. It was like wartime.
For dinner, I'm making an authentic sweet and sour pork. Nothing like the sugary, glowing red version available in the West.
I'm just going to do a sort of typical Chinese marinade, which is a little bit of soy sauce. And this is an interesting rice wine, which I've never seen. Because rice wine will just add a bit of flavor. I thought this might be very nice in the sweet and sour, which is very unusual. Mangosteen, which is really lovely.
Mangosteens are hard to get in the West, so if you want to make this dish at home, use pineapple or try experimenting with other fruit to give the dish its sweet flavor.
And this is just some pear apple, which will give texture.
I'm also adding water chestnuts and young garlic, which look a lot like spring onions. I'm quickly frying the marinated pork with vegetable oil to seal in the flavors.
Everywhere you go in Canton, they use this very mild red chili in many of their dishes, so I thought I'd do the same.
Along with the chilies, young garlic, and water chestnuts, I'm adding a splash of rice vinegar, which gives the dish its sourness.
I'm going to add a little bit of the stock that I made with the bits of pork and a little bit of chicken stock. This is just sugar. Now we're just going to thicken the sauce with a little bit of corn flour and water.
After a quick taste, add the fruit. Asian pears, pineapple, and mangosteen, followed by the pork.
She said, I look good. She said, you're a bright boy. I said, nobody's ever called me a boy for a long time. I love it.
西同埋中式之間。
They said the flavors are really nice. A bit of East meets West. She's right.
就係菠蘿多。
呢隻
廣州就講得菠蘿。
Whilst Ken is cooking for the locals, I'm at Guangdong's medicine market with physician Dr. Xu.
I've been traveling for so long and I'm really tired. So what can I take that's going to lift my spirits and, boost my energy?
She's going to help me make an energy-boosting tonic before I travel to Taiwan to see my family.
Yeah, I can introduce a kind of soup.
Okay.
It's a black chicken, I think. I can cook it in my home for you.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Xu's a practicing gynecologist, but like many Chinese doctors, she combines modern and traditional medicine.
There's a big history and there's over 13,000 different herbs. Is that true?
Yes, that's right.
To go with the chicken, I need some fruit to help boost my immune system.
So it's goji.
This is the goji. Yeah, everyone in the West knows goji berry. I love this, just steeped in, with some tea. My mum always says, drink this because it's good for your eyes.
Yeah, it's good for eyes.
For eyes, yeah. And it tastes sweet, almost
It tastes
like
a little bit sweet.
yeah. So we're going to get just a small handful of the goji berries. Now this is going to go into this stew with black chicken and dangui.
Dangui is the root of a plant which we know in the West as angelica. It's supposed to help circulation.
Apparently this is the best herb for women. It's going to keep all the organs down there working.
With all the key ingredients in the bag, Dr. Xu takes me back to her home to make the soup. As Guangzhou has developed, so has the housing market. Now many young, successful Cantonese live in modern apartments like this.
Did you buy that from the market?
Yeah.
The black chicken we're cooking doesn't just get its name from its feathers. It's black on the inside too, from the skin and meat right down to the bone.
Black or green.
I haven't seen black skin chicken in the UK, but I know that you can buy it from some Chinese supermarkets. I think they're frozen.
Yeah.
It's been used in Chinese medicine for over 1,000 years, and today it's considered a superfood because of the bird's high levels of antioxidants. In Chinese medicine, it's believed the body has two energies, yin and yang. which should always be balanced.
In its simplest form, yin is very cooling, yang is very fiery.
Yeah.
So if you're tired, you're stressed, you know, you're not feeling well, your body's probably
thirsty.
if you feel thirsty, you're probably very yang.
Yeah.
Too much yang. So
Yeah.
you need to eat cooling foods like yin food.
It's a little bit cool.
To balance it. So the chicken inherently is yin, but the ingredients we'll be putting will have different properties, right?
Yeah, but the ingredient we put in is all the ingredient to enhance the yang, so
Okay.
it's a balance.
There's got to be some science in it because whenever anyone feels ill in any culture, they go for the chicken soup. Okay, so we've got the goji berries, and then this is the dang gui.
We also picked up something else at the market, which is full of vitamin C.
Dried Chinese dates.
Yeah, it's jujube.
So just put straight into the water, yeah?
The ingredients go into the pot to boil.
It's got that dang gui smell. I was expecting to eat the chicken, and she's saying no, Cantonese style tonic broths, you don't eat the actual meat.
After boiling for about an hour, it's ready. And in true Cantonese style, we garnish it with spring onions and coriander.
Hey, bon appetit. Thank you for this. This looks very healthy, very clean. That is really good. You just know that it's doing you wonders. And it's easy to make. Just put it all in a pot. Can't get better than that.
Before I visit my father's family tomorrow, I'm taking a walk in the city's old colonial area, Shaman Island, which is where my parents did some of their courting.
My father was a GI and he fought in World War II, and he got leave after the war, and he chose to come here where he met my mother and they fell in love.
My parents immigrated to America as newlyweds, but my father died when I was just 8 months old, aged 33. My mother brought me up alone in Chicago's Chinatown. My father never existed for me except in photographs. My mother never talked about him very much, so I grew up with him only as an image. My mom never remarried, and I think she was of the old traditional Chinese school that if you have children, then you didn't remarry. And so it feels kind of sad for her. Apart from my father and me, my mother had two other great loves in her life, the game of mahjong and Cantonese opera. Before we go our separate ways, I want to share this traditional Cantonese art form with Ching. Cantonese opera dates back to the 16th century and had its heyday in the 1920s. Today, a few Guangzhou restaurants put on daily performances.
It's kind of surreal because I feel like I've just come to a restaurant, but they're performing. It's really beautiful though. I really love the costumes.
And it's very old-fashioned. You see, most of these people are of a certain age here. They're not working, they're probably retired.
Before widespread education, Cantonese opera taught morals and messages to its audiences.
Are they all based on like old legends?
Yes, legends, very famous stories, tales. It's not only what they say, it's what they're gesturing. A lot of gesturing. Do you see it comes from like Tai Chi, when they go like that too, see? That's very Chinese.
Today, these performances are more like variety shows, put on for the elderly and tourists.
It's the aria from my mom's favorite opera. And, I mean, God knows how many times I've heard this.
Our time in Guangdong province has come to an end. Whilst Ken stays on to visit his relatives, I'm going home to see my family in Taiwan.
I miss my family and I'm looking forward to seeing them. But I feel like it's going to be quite emotional because I haven't seen them in a long time. This whole journey, it's about discovery and learning and it's just the last leg of the journey now. So it's all culminating in this sort of homecoming. I feel I'm proud to be Chinese, and I wasn't always proud to be Chinese. When I was growing up in the UK, all I wanted was to be English. Now, through cooking, I found my Chinese part of myself, and the more I've learned, the more I've discovered, and the more I've eaten my way around China, the more that I'm in love with it. And so I feel like I'm kind of coming full circle, but the circle is not quite complete yet.
Taiwan is an island 112 miles off the southeast coast of China, which separated from Chinese rule 100 years ago. Although I was born in Taiwan, I left with my parents when I was 5 and eventually settled in London.
Sometimes I feel a little bit anxious when I come back to Taiwan because I don't feel 100% Taiwanese. So over the years when I have visited, there's a sense of, my Taiwanese, my language, my vocabulary, my etiquette, my manners, all of it is not quite, up to scratch.
My parents moved back to Taiwan in 2009. We're travelling today to the farming area of Baihe village, where my food journey began as a little girl in my grandmother's kitchen.
So we're going to see my grandfather, to see where my mum and all her family grew up, and where I grew up from when I was 2 to 5 years old. And we're going to go and burn some incense for my grandmother, and then I'm going to cook for the whole family.
This will be the first time I've seen my grandfather since my grandmother passed away 2 years ago.
Here we are. Akong! Hey, Akong! This is where I grew up. This is our small courtyard. This belongs to my grandfather. This is where we used to play, my brother and I and cousins.
86年，84年啦，这个
84
我2岁的时候去的。
He's saying this is 84 years old. My grandfather's lived here since he was 2. 以前嘛是当对下去吧。That's the entrance there. You can come through. But this 以前啊，你家是嘛是足热闹。My grandmother, as well as all these great aunts, so always like sisters, and they all cooked for everybody.
Today I'm stepping into my grandmother's shoes, cooking some of the dishes she taught me. And I know the family has high expectations.
Everyone's waiting for lunch. Everyone's saying, when are you going to cook lunch? 你敢不敢吃？我煮的。你敢不敢吃？
Before lunch, my grandfather and I share a quiet moment to mark Qingming Festival, when families remember loved ones who have passed on.
This is my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, and my great-great-grandparents.
It seems fitting that this is the room where my family so often came together to share my grandmother's food, and it's where today we will take time to remember her.
I've traveled 87 miles from Guangzhou to the city of Kaiping to spend a couple of days with cousins on my father's side who I've not seen for 23 years. I'm struck by how much this place has changed. God, I have never seen so many four-wheel drives. I think there has been a recent survey that says for the first time in China, more than 50%, half of the people are living in urban areas now instead of in the countryside. That's a remarkable change when you think that China has always been at least 80 to 90% peasants. Up until the 1990s, my cousins were full-time farmers. But as China began to accept private enterprise, they moved to the city and set up a successful restaurant. I'm kind of curious to meet them and actually to learn more about parts of my family's past, which I don't know. This is on my last visit when I took my mother and actually her sister. I know quite a bit about my mom's family. My dad's family was sort of a mystery. This is a great opportunity for me to reconnect, hopefully over food. I think it will be about coming to terms about who I am and sort of where my place is.
Hello.
哎呀，好耐冇見啦嚇，群久冇見，你好啊嚇嚇，好耐冇見啊！呢個我唔識，我唔識。Hello，你好你好。好幾年咯係嘛？
幾十幾年咯，誒，識中文啲話可能
係啊，話識。
當時話叫我求我話呢個學士要唔識中文，中文唔識嘅。
呢啲。
大女，
佢
藝女男女，
我哋
未見過，
未見過係啊，未見過。
喂，你都未見過
嚇？未見過。安靜啦。你同阿媽教我啲嘢，好。哦，係啊，阿媽。
I bought the young ones silver dollars. In China, it's traditional to give coins in an envelope as tokens of good luck.
係啦。我3個孫就愛學嘅問題。係啦，我希望你幫我。係，梗係。按個班佢出嚟都學習你嘅知識。
Well, they love my mom a lot. It's evident. And they said when they heard that she had passed on, they did a lot of offerings to her. So that was very nice.
This morning, my cousins are taking me to our ancestral village in the Fushan region of Guangdong. It's an area dominated by paddy fields, where my father's family were rice farmers going back several generations.
I said, is that hard work? She said, well, when you're young, you don't know, you don't think about it when it's how backbreaking it really is to plant each stalk of rice. She has to get down there, bend down to do that. And they said when people actually eat, they have no idea where it comes from and how it's harvested.
即係可嚟嘅。哦。想為生活呢，個係嘅辛苦，可能會有心，佢講解近埋會有好神氣。
My family are gathering at my grandparents' grave to mark Qingming, an annual ceremony of grave sweeping, when relatives meet to tidy the burial sites of their loved ones. Traditionally, it's believed that the spirits of the dead will look after their living family if they're offered gifts of food and fake money to keep them happy in the afterlife. Despite the occasion, it can be quite a lively event.
It's very different, our attitude. If you think of something like this in the West, it's very somber. Nobody would think of this is almost like a picnic here.
quên em tôi sẽ báo quay xin ai cái nó cô sân.
Before we eat, we must fulfill one last Chinese custom.
Bạn lùi sân gì?
Wow. Well, no evil spirits will come here now.
I grew up. This is my grandmother's kitchen. This is the big wok because this is how much, to feed a whole big family. 猪长哎. And I sit around watching all this. I remember at that height.
The kitchen's just as my grandmother left it, and today I'm cooking some of her favorite dishes for the family.
The idea is to make a lunch in honor of my grandmother. So she used to make delicious clams and prawns. She used to make drunken prawns drunk with wine. And then my favorite is 粽子, which is bamboo sticky rice, which my grandmother used to make for me. She's really good at making it.
When you're cooking for so many, timing is crucial, so I've enlisted my mother as sous chef. We're starting with the most complicated dish, bamboo parcels.
Mushrooms. These are dried Chinese mushrooms. They've already been stir-fried in a little bit of oil. But of course first like pre-soaked, but just to soften them a little bit. So that's dried shrimp and some shallots. And it's all been already sort of stir-fried with a little bit of soy sauce. And then this is the rice. So stir-frying raw rice, basically. Just to get that fragrant, get lots of the flavors going.
Next, shape the bamboo leaf into a cup. Fill it with some rice, a few pieces of braised pork belly, and another layer of rice. Then secure the parcels with string before you boil them.
Now the trick is to try and make them all the same size. They're all going to cook in the same time. I don't think my grandmother would approve, but one big, one small. Just 50 more to go. 你的弄阿嬷教的吼，你所有你煮菜弄阿嬷教的。That looks good. And then what we do, we cook it. We're gonna boil it. 全部用黑轮嘛。Once it's cooked, you can use that knot to take it all out. 我个点哈。I think I'm going to start with the prawns first.
Next, I'm making one of my grandmother's signature dishes, drunken prawns. Get the wok nice and hot, add the prawns, a little ginger, and a good splash of rice wine to get the shellfish nice and tipsy.
My grandmother used to make drunken prawns for us when we were growing up. Really tasty. So like the bittersweetness of the Shaoxing rice wine kind of enhances the sweetness of the prawns, and these are just local river prawns. Really good.
My grandmother's speciality was seafood, so I'm making another of her favorite dishes, fresh clams with Chinese basil, soy sauce and rice wine.
And we just keep cooking until a lot of the shells have opened up.
Once the food's ready, it's time to seat the guest of honor, my grandfather.
看你感觉迄个看煮了安怎无？
是安那嘞？
放在互阿嬷。
较歪，这对了，我。
安尼敢好？
好啦，会使啦，可以啦。
Không hơn.
准肉做
Thơ à?
bạn treo này là
真好。
造型叫来请，建议你辛苦了，
也没有，很高兴看到你们，阿公啊，
身体健康，
阿公身体健康。
阿公的，喝汤啊，喝一碗汤，好了。
煎药，
不是边吃边叫的这样。
搞粽子，
有高站
高正常的地方。
My uncle said this is the best. It's got the best flavor. It's got the flavor of the Tony's basil.
这是刚刚在那边拿。
They all think that this food is really similar to what my grandmother used to cook. These are all her flavors.
很少嘛，那对阿嬷来讲，她已经
那我们在这里是。
那剩下的饭，
I'm really happy because my grandfather just said, "But you really made this, and it's got grandmother's flavor. It tastes like grandmother's."
阿嬷的味，就是的味道。
味道. My grandfather's really vulnerable, and I've never seen him emotional. He must really miss her a lot. My grandmother was an amazing woman, but she really groomed me to be a cook at such a young age, and I didn't really think that it would leave such an impression on me. They all give their hats off to my grandmother. You know, she was the cook. She was the exec chef. She was the best one out of all of them. Now I really understand a bit of her more through cooking in this kitchen. This was her life, you know. My food memory started here, and I didn't think I'd grow up to be a cook. I didn't think it would shape me so much. I think I have come full circle. 你身體個用。
安查這裡啦。
做料啊，你這做料，會快啊。有，你好10錢做料，差不多。再見。
好，再見。
再見。
This farm has been in the Hom family for 5 generations. It's where my father grew up. Today my cousins grow vegetables and raise poultry here for their restaurant in town.
好食啊，呢個。Oh, they look very tasty. They're beautiful. Oh, I remember this. This is the old family kitchen. 日本，我嘅媽，佢嘅爹。
哦，咪安那個兄弟媽媽講要話，以前的糯米其實時候能自己帶，你嘅老豆佢話帶都唔變，佢講，喂，唔係講。
This is a revelation. She said that when my mom laid eyes on my dad, it was love at first sight. Nobody else she would even be interested in. There's a revelation. Because my mother told her.
因為你阿媽成日同我講話嘅，佢好似講我人嘅。佢話
我要翻嚟聽過呢嘢，因為我媽佢唔係成日好講啊，佢嘅人好定啊。係咯。
After grave sweeping, there's always a feast, and on this occasion, we're cooking together to celebrate my homecoming.
This is what we call a family affair. Everybody pitches in, do their thing, and help. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to be eating. Everybody wants to eat. My cousin is going to make his signature dish, which I never had, which is sweet and sour goose.
The goose is fresh from the farm. Once it's coated in soy sauce, to give it color and flavor, my cousin deep fries it.
What that does is it seals the skin so that when he cooks it, the whole thing doesn't fall apart.
He's braising it in a thick sauce made of rice vinegar, Chinese tomato ketchup, cane sugar, and salted preserved plums to give it the sweet and sour taste.
Then he covers it and slowly simmers it until it's done. In 1 hour.
While it cooks, I'm making bitter melon with black bean sauce.
This is a great thing about cooking like this. The family all chips in and helps you do the prep, which is great. I love it. This is bitter melon. It's quite delicious, and you can actually get this fresh everywhere now. It's Chinese supermarkets, and you need to take out the inside. It has a bitter quinine flavor. 你中意福廣嘛？你中意係福廣嘛？She likes it, but I'm cooking this because my mom used to make it often. I used to walk into the door and I would hear the wok sizzle, and I would hear all the food going into the wok. And so by the time I washed my hands and everything, the food would be on the table. In a few hours, we're going to have a feast here.
I'm making a full flavor black bean sauce, which will go perfectly with the melon.
This is classic. Garlic, ginger, and black beans. I think this is the flavor that people who are outside of China probably are the most familiar with. These are the famous black beans the world loves. Well, we take vegetables and we blanch them, and it helps to give them a cleaner flavor. I'm draining it. Garlic, ginger, and the black beans.
Then add spring onions, mild red chilies, and rice wine. Next, add the bitter melon pieces and a splash of water to tenderize them.
A bit more cooking. Just a little bit of sesame oil. That gives a nice sheen to that.
My cousin is serving the goose in the traditional way, chopped.
Tell me if that's not beautiful. Okay. Oh, go to it. They're all having a little booze. Well, I think the most touching moment is not only seeing my family, but how we are actually united by our culinary passion, and the fact I was able to cook and share food with them, I thought was the best part. This is absolutely beautiful. Wow, what I've learned in Kaiping is a little bit more of my family puzzle. I learned more about my mom and dad meeting and how it was love at first sight. I thought that was quite touching. In many ways, I felt she more or less sacrificed her life for mine. But still, hearing that, she did have some moments of happiness. What actually makes me happiest coming here is to see in reality how the changes in China is reflected in my family. Their welfare has gone up, they're optimistic, they are looking with hope to the future. That's pretty fantastic. Bye bye. Bye bye.
After 5 weeks and more than 13,000 miles crossing China, Ken and I reunite for our final dinner in Hong Kong.
It feels fitting to end our journey in a city where East meets West.
This view, I think, has to be one of the most beautiful views in all of Asia.
Yeah, it's one of the best views in the world. I mean, Hong Kong. Look at that.
I've learned a lot on this trip. Actually, before coming, I actually wanted to experience most of the cities because I'm a city girl at heart. But going back to the roots, the basic roots, and going back to the countryside and learning from these farmers, you know, life is tough. It's not easy. And the way they live with such dignity really touched me. They put their food on the plate and it represents them. And they cook for us and they share with us and they're giving a bit of themselves to us.
What is amazing is how China has changed in such a short period of time. I mean, growing up, I saw China as being very poor and not enough to eat and that sort of thing. It's transformed to this second economic power in the world. And its food is like that too. Because 25 years ago when I went throughout China, I was disappointed in Chinese food. Nobody cared about it. There was no passion. Now, every place we've been to has been a more than pleasant surprise.
Through food, we've been able to get beneath the skin of China.
Unrecognizable. It's like the new frontier.
We discovered a country that has emerged from the trauma of the Cultural Revolution.
It's like a human epic. He's gone through all this hardship to arrive. And I think he embodies very much what China is about, looking forward.
Yeah.
The food culture that was in danger of being lost has been reinvigorated.
Hands down, she's dumpling master of Beijing.
China is reveling in its newfound freedom.
You have these very small families that are starting businesses like this. And who knows, maybe in the next 30 years, there'll be a gigantic corporation based on this family recipe.
Even in the face of sweeping modernization.
I actually didn't expect this. Like a mass construction site.
Ethnic minorities are preserving their traditional cultures and cuisines.
Who needs the hand? The eldest here.
No, thank you. There's some Chinese tradition I don't like.
Across China, home cooking is alive and well.
I've never done it like that before. It's beautiful. I'm learning so much.
While in the megacities, Chinese cuisine is reaching new heights.
This is not like sweet and sour you ever see anywhere.
It looks like a work of art.
It's been a deeply personal journey that has helped us to understand more about our relationship with our homeland.
It's all about our food. We're united by how we eat and how our passion to eat is so important. And that's a recurring theme I felt throughout wherever we went. It's the essence of who we are. To China, its people, its cuisine, to its hope and to its future.